Hold on a
methods that
sec.
I use. One is the conch shell, and the other is, I don't know that name. But the first one is to get it so it's all mixed in and it has a consistent consistency in the clay body, and then the other one is because I am a very unique potter and I have to have my clay how I like it. So this you push down with your right hand in a like 45-degree angle, and your left hand just stays on top of the clay pretty much, and you just have it go around and around.
So even the stuff that's on the table gets mixed in.
Yeah, that's why I pushed it all and cleaned it.
Okay. Because I can see as you're wedging, the stuff on the bottom comes around and gets pushed right back up into the top.
Yeah, if you look here, you see these marks on here?
Yeah.
That is from my hand. And then when I push down, this gets pushed back in. So it is a spiral, so it goes all the way around, and then it gets mixed in.
And
so
it kind of still looks like a conch shell a little bit?
Yeah.
Is that still kind of the same method?
Oh, this is the conch shell method?
Okay.
So if I take like a chunk of clay and I put it in the side here, and I wedge, stay. Oh, it's not going to stay. But it will wrap around. And
Yeah. You could see it work its way around up until it started to go up.
Yeah. So that's the first method. And then I turn it on its side, and I do the way Mr. Hall taught me. And this, you take your hands, you push in, and you bring the outside clay in. So when you come up, you push in, so it gets all mixed in. And I do this so when I get to the wheel, I have the clay spinning in the right way. So then, after I get it going around a little bit, you see these little dimples? That's from me pushing, so I don't want that, so I lightly push down until they go away, type deal. And then, since I wet a large amount, I'll snap it down into a huge coil. So when it gets to the wheel, I can just take a wire and cut a piece off and use that. So then that's my truck. So let's go to the wheel. So, first thing, you see how this is kind of not the cleanest? You take your wood tool and you hold it down and you clean it off. And then I'll take my clay. And I'll start with the bigger one so it's easier to see. So I set it down. And if it doesn't get in center, that's kind of fine. And then I tap center to begin. So I just have the wheel go down slowly. So now if I spin it, it's almost centered type deal. And I get a little bit of water. And I push in. And when I push in, the clay goes up. And at this point, my elbow does come out, but most of the time it's in my hip, so I have stability. And I'll do that one more time. And I have had a lot of time to practice, so. And if you look at my hands, by pulling them off, the only part that's touching is here, and I use this instead of going like this. You can go like this, but I just find it more comfortable to turn my hand 90 degrees and center like that. So now it's centered. And now, the next step is to open. So I take my middle finger and ring finger and go into the center. and find the center. And then I push down on the center, like that. Get a little bit of water so it's lubricated. Then I stop. So then, now it's open. And now, I take my hands. So I know that's probably a little quick, but when you go, you have your left, if you're right-handed, you have your, wait, other way. If you're right-handed, your right hand stays on the outside and your left hand goes in, and you keep your right hand where it was and you push out, and then the only place the clay can go is up. So then it makes a nice pull type deal. So I technically already have one pull and I haven't started yet. I'm a left-hander, Mr. Hall, remember, so I'll be throwing this.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so then I'll make a cylinder because those are about the hardest things you can do when you first start. So, and if you were to look at my wheel, this has a lot of clay right here. So when I go, I want to push in to there and lift that clay up. And that takes a little bit of concentration. So then you get it wet again. And when you put water on the inside, it will have water that will cool up bottom. So just sponge that out, because if you don't, you can get cracking when it dries because the clay absorbs water, and that's not good. So one more pull. And now I'm going to take care of my rim. So you have this like flap of skin on your finger. If you put your right over the top, it will make it nice and smooth. And then there's your cylinder. You take your wood tool, you hold it kind of like a pencil, and you come right down to the bottom. And then you turn it so you have the angle pointing down, and you just push it down and hold. And then your clay comes off, and then you take your wire tool, run it through, and if I were to save this, I could take my sponge, put water on the side, and just take it through and push it off. But I'm going to show you how my wall looks, just so people don't ask, why did he cut his in half, Mr. Hall? So if you look, it has, I have a slight too much here, so when I would trim, I would take my loop tool and come just like so type deal. So it would look in a little bit. So that's kind of a good cylinder, but not the best. So now to get the next one on, you see all this stuff on here, turn your wheel on. It'll clean it off. Then you take your wooden tool again and you just come in and it cleans it off. So now I'll do a bowl. This is about 1.25 pounds to half. So I tap the center again. So then I push and I bring it up, then down. And if you see, like right here, it has a little bit of clay that was off center. You can just take your wood tool and clean that off. And you want to make sure your wheel head is totally clean, because if you don't, then your hand will bounce and you won't get anything done. So now I'm going to do a bowl. And for a bowl, you kind of want your base to be wider than it is tall, because it will help with stability. So I almost have it centered. And if you notice, my elbows are all the way into my hips and I'm leaning over the wheel. That will help with stability, because if I knock it off center, like my body doesn't move. But if I'm out here, see how my knees move a little bit? So in here, you can just, boom, it's totally centered now. And when you take your hands off when you're centering, you don't just take your hands off because it will make it off center. You have to push and then slowly release when you're still there and then take off, because otherwise it will be off center. So now it's time to opening. So I go, if you just go like this, you could miss and then it won't be on center. So if you come back in here, just push in and it's back to center. So that's a very helpful hint. Or if you do it Mr. Hall's way, you can put your thumb into center and you can pull out. But I like it this way because you get that nice pull right off when you open it. And now I'll use my rib at some point to smooth it out. So make sure you have all your tools because you don't want to be making the room a mess, because then you have to clean them. And one more point, if your wheel is going fast, you must move fast. If your wheel goes slow, you can go a little bit slower. That's why I have my wheel going a little bit quicker, because I've been doing this since like 4 years and I have a lot of experience with it. So if you're not so experienced, you want to go slow, and if you have it slow, you have your hands go up your wheel slow. And make sure you always compress your lip because you don't want it to crack. So now I take my rib and I smooth the inside out. And when you're doing this, you want opposite pressure. So if I'm pushing on the inside, I have my hand on the outside, making sure it does not just like go kittywampus. So then you come on the outside. And that will also help if people like throwing marks in your clay, you will get them back. Because when you use your rib, it smooths it out. And when you put your hand on the inside, you'll get throwing marks. And then you just come back in. You get it all the way to the wheel head. And then you just take it off and you get the next piece of clay back out. And then you come in. And then if I was to take it off, I would put water under it and then do it. So then that is the wall. So this is quite thin, which some people like, some people don't. And if I were to trim this, I would have it come right about, bring it here in the foot. Type deal. So whatever size this wall is, you want here. So if this is an 1/8 of an inch, you want this to be an 1/8 of an inch. So when you trim, if you look here, this is a bowl that comes down and is flat. So this would come down and this would be flat. If this was like this, if it was rounded, you would want your foot to be rounded, your bottom to be rounded as well. Does that, hopefully that makes sense. So, Mr. Hall, what should I
It follows the form.
Yeah, it follows your...
It follows the form of the bowl, so
Yeah.
that's why you have the rounded foot.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
my ceramics teacher in college he drilled into us, you're not trimming what you want, you're trimming what you threw. So if you throw a bowl that goes like this, you would trim a bowl that goes like this.
Say that again.
So, say what part?
What your college teacher taught you.
Oh, my college teacher said if you don't trim to what you want, you trim to what you throw. So if your bowl went